Welcome back to restoring this steam hammer. When we got this thing, it was a pile of rust in 100 different pieces. We have meticulously restored everything from this piston rod to the ram, the top die. We made a brand new bottom die, had to cut dovetails in the anvil by disassembling the entire thing. And here we are, 5 months later. We got this monstrous compressor parked outside, putting air into this air receiver tank. It's plumbed to the machine, and we are using air to test it and make all the fine adjustments that we need to make before we hopefully are able to run it on steam. Right now, this is what it looks like. If I open the air valve, it just starts hammering uncontrollably. So that's what we've got to dig into. How is this thing meant to run, and what adjustments do we need to make to the linkage to do that? So this rear valve controls the amount of air that flows to the front valve. The front valve controls the direction of air from the top of the cylinder to the bottom of the cylinder. As it currently stands, in this position, I think we're directing air to the bottom of the cylinder and is then cycling to the top as the ram comes up. That means it is lifting the ram. Weird. Right, so messing with this dial has the effect of altering the relationship between these two valves, because if I swing this dial across to the left, this blocks this piece, meaning that only the rear valve articulates through the rest of the motion of the handle. So we get a little bit of motion here, but then no motion, just power, raw power up there. Maybe we have to start from here. We set this valve up so that we get ram lift as soon as there's power to the machine, ram drop, and stay as soon as we pull down on this handle. 1016. I'm recording the time and the date and the measurements. That way we can always look back to it. I've taken photos. Let's do this. Unthread that. Why is that stuck, Jamie? That wasn't stuck before, was it? I should twist. I'm just gonna be sacrilegious and just treat it badly here. I've pulled these threads down just a couple of millimeters more. Unfortunately, they're very tight. Let's see if we have any improvement. That's so weird, like it's not what I'd expect. Oh! That's it! Not exactly it, but it's kind of it. When I opened the valve that time, it lifted up, it held, but not high enough. When I pushed the treadle down, it dropped and squeezed. Oh! Yes! Ram comes up, ram comes down. Oh my gosh! It's just not coming up high enough. I may have sounded like I was very excited because it looked like it was running perfectly, but then I cycled back through these other settings and it performed the exact same, which I don't think is what you would expect from it. Yay, it lifts and it drops on the treadle, but we can't now on demand access that reciprocating blow that it started out displaying. So what on earth is going on with that? I think this is potentially something interesting to note. This first kind of 3 or 4 inches of the piston are really thickly covered in this graphite. I would expect that this piston should be really nicely oily by now, but instead it's sticky, covered in graphite, so perhaps our gland packing is too tight. I went ahead and degreased it and then put some thinner oil on, but maybe I'm gonna try some even thinner oil. On the note of this piston being tight, I'm gonna try and loosen these bolts so that we can see if we can get that gland packing not as crushed up against the piston. Hopefully that'll loosen things up a little bit. We definitely don't seem to have any sealing issues. Good Lord! It is not stabilizing. On previous iterations with that stickier piston, it was stabilizing a lot quicker. So after lots of fiddling, I found a couple of things that I want to tackle straight away. First of all, this linkage here for the throttle valve, this rear valve, is sticky. As I come up and I let go of the treadle, the handle here, see where that valve stops? That's not the end of its travel. It should stop there. And we get a very noticeable difference in how the ram behaves when it does finally go up there. So here's what I went ahead and did. I took this pin out and I found that it's nice and smooth here, but it gets sticky right at the top before it goes to where it needs to go. And so that little bronze valve component that I made, that we put in there, that I said might need to come out at some point in the future, I think it needs to come out because I think it's causing some sticking issues. Look at that. You can see the mark from the opening of the valve. How cool is that? It is wet though, good Lord. And oh my goodness. We've only ran this thing for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it is already rusted in there and completely covered in water. Now what I expected to see in there was copious amounts of oil, because our oil goes into that valve. I can't see copious amounts of oil at the moment. Any oil flowing? Don't tell me the lubricator's already broken. Oh, bloody hell! After all that, we thought we'd restored it, but apparently we've only given it a short burst of life. I found an additional problem, which is I do not have a functioning oiler. So I've also got to deal with that. But we need some sort of order here. This is going to be dripping oil down into our gland for the next several days. Now we can have a look at this. What I've done is I milled 2 slots in the bronze and drilled and tapped 2 holes in the shaft to be able to bolt the valve to it at the right position that it hopefully no longer binds in the bore, but is hopefully not so far away from it that we get too much leakage. Alrighty, I think I have it as smooth as I can get it. Through the whole range of motion, it's equally smooth. I'm happy with the rear valve. I've been reflecting lately on what it felt like when I got this machine. It was incredibly scary, especially after we produced the first video, because I realized I'd got myself into something that was well and truly out of my comfort zone, and I thought I might have made the biggest mistake of my career in purchasing this machine to restore it. I took a bunch of photos, and in that first week, I added them to my website, and it is just crazy to see where this thing started. The utter pile of rust it was. The shaft was a rusted disaster, the dies were a mess, and we just had a pile of parts unlabeled, no idea what anything was, no idea where it went. So the fact that we are here is really shocking to me. All those pictures are on my Squarespace website. Having those photos and what I had written immortalized in that Squarespace website, it's very nice to be able to reflect on. And you can do the same, even if you don't have a business, but you want to document your experiences, perhaps in your hobby of machine restoration, or your hobby of adventuring, like on our adventure website. Squarespace is the place to do it. They've got countless drag and drop themes, you don't need to know how to code, and it's an all-in-one platform, which means you can buy your domain there as well. You don't have to do any of that hassle of linking things up. But of course, if you need Squarespace in a professional capacity, you can sell unlimited physical or digital products. You can even sell subscriptions to products, sell your time with Squarespace scheduling, and even utilize buy now, pay later integrations such as Klarna to allow your customers to pay over time. It's incredibly powerful and it gets better every single year. So see how easy it is to build yourself a Squarespace website, take your business to the next level with it by going to squarespace.com/forge. You'll have 2 weeks to play around with it for free with that free trial, and then code FORGE at checkout will get you 10% off your first purchase. So please go to squarespace.com/forge. Let's get back to it. Off camera, what we've just done is completely disassemble the oiler. And this time, I mean absolutely everything, as you can see. And what I found is I should have definitely done a better job of disassembling and cleaning it earlier, because there was a lot of gunk that was trapped up here, and it had jammed this ball bearing such that the plunger couldn't suck the oil through the ball bearing and make it pump. Further to that, after getting it unstuck with a magnet on a stick, we're actually missing 2 ball bearings. See that? Little tiny ball bearing here, tiny ball bearing up there, bigger G. We don't have it. What we do have is 2 10.27mm ball bearings, as you can see here, and before we completely ripped it apart again, I did test it and it does indeed work with just those 2 ball bearings. Put the oiler back on, she runs, so let's see what happens with a lot more oil in the system. I forgot to put something together, Jamie. Forgot to put the union back in. Ah! Would you look at that? We have a leak. What a mess I've made. Ugh! Oil's everywhere. Well, at least we've got more oil in the system.
Well, no, it's not in the system now. It's out of the system.
Jeez Louise. It's just crazy. See, I'm cracking this to slowly let pressure in, and I'm trying to get it so the ram doesn't just take off like an out-of-control donkey. There we go. Better. So it's reciprocating much more than the last time we had it set up. Ah! But if I put too much pressure in, it just takes off and there's no control. Now that there's a lot more oil in the system, Everything seems to be freer. Will not stop reciprocating super fast. There's no control to it. As soon as the pressure goes up, it goes crazy. I wonder if maybe this rear throttle valve that I had to adjust to get to not stick is maybe letting in too much air. Actually, maybe that's what I gotta do. Maybe I should try extending this a little bit. So I've stretched that out. See if it'll close it off a little bit more. Whoa, better. It seems like things were better when we extended the length of this rod by unthreading it from here. I think it's getting us to the closed position more reliably. But right now what I want to do is I want to support this power hammer better, because this is just unbelievably dangerous how it's currently set up. I'm going to try and see what happens if I control this without that being attached. Okay, so more throttle by turning this. You can see how much more energetic it is. Less throttle, less energetic. So here, I can get it to chill out there, but then if I bring this down, there we go. If I open it that much, it now starts the ram reciprocating. Righto. What I am learning is the actual operation is not so much about the rear valve as it is about the front valve. Our rear valve is just a throttle. It is just how much air flows from this pipe into there. This is controlling the up and down of the ram. I think we're finally starting to figure out some answers. Now check this out. This is a picture that Ethan Harty sent me, and this is obviously of a different steam hammer's valve mechanism, and it's different to mine. You'll see that the rear valve here is also a throttle valve, steam inlet. It's controlled by one single handle. The control valve, its linkage starts to look very similar to the linkage over here. It's just that it is completely separate to the control of the throttle valve. However, here, the throttle valve is connected to the linkage of the control valve. When that is hooked up, opening or closing the throttle valve has an effect on the control valve, so they're connected. What I just learned when I was fiddling is it was a lot nicer when I could isolate the two. That tells me that the machine can run, the machine can have control, and it's a question of the relationship between this valve and that valve, which is going to be based on the adjustments of those linkages. So let's keep fiddling with this setting. I think that's going to be what unlocks it. Okay. Needs to be at that angle to be shut. 26.5 degrees. That's what I want the shut position to be. I think this screw might be screwed. We're not making any adjustment at all, are we? I don't think that thread is working. I think it's cooked. See that? It's no longer threading. There, look. See that? Something's wrong about that. Something's very bloody wrong about that. Threading is normal, and then all of a sudden... Right. So, what do? I think I know exactly what we do. We do the same thing that I think somebody might have done before. I think we cut this, we weld some all thread in its place, and then we cut this, weld on effectively a threaded nut to replace it, very quickly getting us back to a properly adjusting bit of iron. Good as new. No, new and improved. I must say, feels quite sacrilegious to cut into these 100-year-old bits of wrought iron, because somebody took a very long amount of time and put a lot of care and pride into manufacturing these parts. I mean, this is an absolutely gorgeous bit of forging and handwork. And here I am, imbecile, with a hot metal glue gun and an angle grinder, making a mockery of it all. But we shall make it improved. Would you look at that? 26 degrees, we've got it set right, and 26 degrees on the watch as well. It's a scorcher today, again. Let's power up the Jenny, give her another shot. Whoa, that's good. Ah, it won't shut off. Oh! Look, look, look! If I lift up here, that might be the secret to it. It's idling uncontrollably, but if I do that, we can park it all the way up. Sweet goodness. Do you see how high the ram went? Okay, what I was just doing then was pushing up on this linkage there. Okay, when I push up on that, it brings this valve down lower, which pushes air exclusively into the bottom half of the cylinder, which lifts the ram. It is getting that valve here to come lower that allows the ram to stay lifted all the way up. And this spring here is not strong enough, or this bar is not long enough to lift this linkage high enough to actually divert the air all the way into the bottom of the cylinder to stop the reciprocation. I think I might be able to achieve that result by unscrewing this screw, thereby making the control valve longer. Okay, if I loosen this, the ram drops. Oh, that's so cool. The longer this is, the lower the ram is. So I want the opposite. I want that the other way. Come on, just it gets sticky now. I just simply do not have full control over this thread yet because it gets really stiff. I want to work on that thread so that we have that type of fine-tuning control, fingertip control. So I'm going to take out the entire control valve so I can get it threading neatly. I've got to try and work out where the threads are bad on this, and I think the threads are bad on the male side. Here at the tip, and there at the base. This nut gets tight, which leads me to believe that this has a little bit of an hourglass shape to it. Or the threads are just nasty, so I'm going to try and take a triangle file to it. Still won't go. I have to resort to more barbaric methods here. Is this any better? Barely. Great, I've made almost no progress. Yeah, gone ahead and threw some flats on there for the wrench, so it's a little bit...
For the spanner?
Oh, it's smooth as butter. Oh, delightful. We are now going to have full control through the entire length of that thread. Yes! All right. She is ready for more air. I might be getting ahead of myself. Getting a little extra confident. I think it might be time to get the treadle installed as well. Why is that stuck? Get in there. Get in that hole. This spring now has to go on that pipe. This needs to thread to the end of that pipe. But to do that, we're going to have to compress the spring with a lot more force than I am able to generate. What about this devilish idea? Oh, this feels very dangerous. Not enough clearance for them, I don't think. This looks like the beginning of every internet fail video you've ever seen. Bang! You fucking... Oh, you get to go hide and make jokes about me terrifying myself. Whoa. All right, I need thick welding gloves. Oh! This is so stupid! Why won't you get on there? It's jammed. Get in that hole! Get on there! Come on! Look, it's on. I think there's only one wire holding it on. We've done it! It's like get off with a bank heist. That's the most dangerous thing I've done all week. God, we've done it. That's a functional treadle. It feels good. Look at this beautiful mechanism. You might think to yourself, oh no, now you've put this big old massive spring here, I bet this handle's gonna be a nightmare to operate. But no, it is smooth as butter. It has not changed at all because of this handy dandy little slot they put there. How smart is that? Handle actuated, no difference. But treadle actuated, obviously, it pulls down on it just how you want. Jamie, I have never once felt better about the chances of this thing running. I think this is going to be the afternoon where we can fire up the forge. Let's see what happens. We need to adjust this control valve. Opening the pressure. Okay, so how it's set, it's forced the ram up. Let's now twist this and see what happens to the ram. If I undo it, the ram starts to drop. Okay, so we can control exactly where it sits at rest. Oh! That is a beautiful sight. Seeing that ram move with so much energy. But it's not hitting. How about we put some more pressure? Oh my goodness! That's a power hammer! But there's not a lot of power. I think, how it's currently set, it's too much bias towards the top half of the cylinder. So let me unscrew this, get the ram dropping a touch. Now let's really crack open this valve. It's now time to put some steel in the fire, at last. Here we go, come on. It's beautiful! The single blow control is amazing. I've never had a power hammer where I could fire off a single blow so well. Look at that! Right, how about fine power? Oh, it has a gentle touch. How can this machine have such a fine touch? None of the other power hammers here can hammer so gently. I wish it would hit a little bit harder, though. It would be good if it was hitting a little bit harder, but what I definitely know is we're running out of air very, very quickly because we just can't keep up with the amount of air this thing requires. Oh my, yes! I absolutely love this. This has bloody surprised me. I did not know I would like this so much. There is nothing that I want to do more now than to run this thing on Steam to see what it would have truly been like. Thank you for watching. I hope that we figure out how we get this thing plumbed up to Steam, and the next time you see this hammer, it's going to be running how she was designed to be ran. Thank you for following along. Thank you for your support, and thank you for all of your helpful comments through this project. Till next time, when she's running on Steam. Bye-bye.